You've been thinking about, really, the Pentagon's reaction to this. Just talk us through your thinking as to whether the step of banning Anthropic from the supply chain in this way is the right step.
It's a petulant reaction by the Secretary of Defense that's likely to turn out to be advantageous to Anthropic, but it's going to be bad for the Defense Department and bad for the security of the United States. The idea that you could either nationalize or blacklist a leading American company is outrageous, and it's going to discourage other leading-edge tech firms from being willing to expose their business by participating in the defense ecosystem.
Okay, there's going to be immediate shock, as you say, from those in the space and the reaction function of the Pentagon. But more broadly, how transparent should these sorts of conversations become at this moment? Very difficult ethical questions that seem to be shone a significant public light on by Dario Amodei, the leader of Anthropic himself.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I mean, this is a frontier technology that we are still understanding what its consequences are going to be. And to suggest that we have less transparency or that a firm has no right to set standards on how a cutting-edge technology will be utilized by the Defense Department, I think is probably a losing proposition for DoD.
What should be forced, what could be forced by Congress? We just had a representative of California to start the show talking about wanting to bring law to bear that companies aren't pushed off of any sort of national supply chain in any retribution act. But what more broadly can be done by Congress at this moment to make clearer the lines?
Well, Congress really runs defense policy, and they can legislate in this space, and DoD will be required to be compliant with it. It's actually shocking to think that the Defense Department blacklisted an American company. That's the kind of thing we do to Chinese firms, not to patriotic American firms who are already participating in classified DoD activity.
Can you give us some guiding principles on then how OpenAI and Sam Altman might be able to find appeasement in a contract? Do you think extra steps had been taken? Is there, though, really a need at this moment for companies to see the law as it stands as where the line should be, rather than trying to insert their own language into certain contracts?
Well, it's an open question, but I do think that OpenAI is saying, yes, we trust the government that they won't use our product in a way they say they won't. And Anthropic is saying, we actually need proof and we need indemnification that our product is being used as we are advertising our product. I think given the low level of trust in the Trump Department of Defense, this is likely to be advantageous marketing for Anthropic and very difficult for DoD to be able to say, you need to trust that we will abide by the law, when so much of their behavior, including blacklisting an American company, looks to be a bending of the law, or at least an aggressive and predatory use of the law.
Kori, it's interesting, OpenAI defended, saying that it built a number of safeguards into the contract with the Pentagon and, quote, said the Pentagon actually agrees with these principles and reflects them in law and policy. When we're thinking about where AI's role now is in defense, in war, as we're currently seeing it unfold, can you just educate our audience as to how integral AI has now become?
Yes, what AI is already proving incredibly valuable for in the defense space is surveying enormous amounts of data and, for example, identifying threat portfolios. The ability to see patterns in large amounts of data. But what Anthropic is saying is we do not want it to be used for domestic surveillance of the U.S. or for decisions about the use of lethal force before we have higher confidence in the model. And those are not unreasonable standards and provide the basis for what Congress perhaps ought to put into law until we have better transparency and better understanding of what these models are capable of in future iterations.